it's Tina and I am back, and it is time for a swatch and review video featuring the Too Faced Just Peachy matte eyeshadow palette. I've been putting this to the test. I've done a couple of videos using this palette, so I think I have a pretty good idea about how I feel about this palette. So I want to go ahead and share my thoughts with you, as well as some swatches. And as usual, I do break my reviews down in different sections. So if you want to jump ahead to a certain part of the review, then I will leave timestamps down below in the description box so you can jump ahead if you want to. I like to start out with swatches so you can get an overview of the palette. You'll see the shades up close, and then you will see me apply them on my arm using a brush. I like to do brush swatches because I feel like that gives a better idea of the texture of the eyeshadows and how they apply with a brush. It's not going to 100% translate to how you apply them to the eyes, so I do also test them out on the eyes, but it gives you a better idea of how it will apply with a brush. So let's go ahead and jump into an overall view of the shadows, and then we'll jump into the swatches. So here you have all 12 shades in the palette. Again, it's an all matte palette with 3 rows of 4 shades each. We have Peach Meringue, Peach Tea, Peach Cobbler, and Peach Tart in the top row. In the second row, we have Peach Butter, Just Peachy, Peach Punch, and Just Ripe. And the very last row, we have Peaches and Cream, Fresh Picked, Peach Sangria, and Chocolate Dipped. Now I'm going to apply these swatches on my arm over a very light layer of primer. This is the Too Faced Shadow Insurance, and I'm using my Sigma Eye Shading E55 brush for the swatches and cleaning off my brush in a clean washcloth between swatches. The first shade up is Peach Meringue, which is described as an ivory shade. This is a very sheer yellow based ivory shade that you do have to really build up to get any kind of color payoff and pigmentation. It's just a very sheer shade, not my favorite at all. Then we have the shade Peach Tea, which is described as a caramel. This one is a medium toned caramel brown shade. It has a ton of warmth to it and a little bit of like a peachy orange undertone. It takes a lot to build this color up as well, but it does build up in about 2 layers. Followed by the shade Peach Cobbler. This one is described as a toasted peach. This is more of an orangey toned brown shade. It's like a medium orange tone brown. This one actually has decent color payoff in one swipe. The next shade is Peach Tart. This is described as a deep brown. This one is a deep, warm, like chocolatey brown, and it does have great pigmentation without having to build it up, and it doesn't appear patchy on the skin at all. In the second row, we have the shade Peach Butter. This one is described as a peach cream. It is not that different in tone from Peach Meringue in the first row. And again, it's a sheer shade. I just think we could have done without this color because it's so similar to the first shade. Next up is Just Peachy. This one is described as a matte peach. This one is a light, like a salmon peach shade. Sheer pigmentation. It's not really a thick, creamy shade. Next up is Peach Punch. This one is described as a peach daiquiri. It's more of a reddened tone, like corally, orangey toned shade. It does build up, but again, it has such a sheer base to it. All of these shades seem to have a sheer base to them rather than being thick and creamy. Next is Just Ripe. This one is described as a spiced plum. It's a plummy toned medium brown. It has a bit of red undertone to it. Then we have in the last row Peaches and Cream. This is described as a peach sorbet. This is a peachy toned ivory. This has a lot more warmth to it. This one I think is different from the 2 lighter shades in the palette. Next we have Fresh Picked. This is described as a ginger peach, which is actually a very good description. It's more of a ginger, warm toned peach shade. Actually a nice shade as well, but it's not that significantly different from Peach Cobbler or Peach Tea. Next up is Peach Sangria. This one is described as a wine. It has a little bit of micro shimmer to it. It's barely discernible, but it does show up. Picks up pretty decently, but again, you see there's this sheerness to it. And the last shade is Chocolate Dipped, which is described as a smoky brown. This one is a deep blackened brown shade, and it picks up pretty nicely. I think the deep shades in the palette actually pick up nicely and have decent pigmentation. But overall, the shades just have this sheer tendency to them. So they do sheer out very easily. They don't build up the best. They're not going to give you intense color payoff at all. And you do have to build them up if you want to get any kind of intensity from the shades. And here you have a look at the palette after I'm done swatching. I did get quite a bit of kick up, mainly because I had to go back into the palette so many times to pick up color, to actually get the color to show up on the swatches. So this gives you an idea of what you can expect as far as kickback from the eyeshadows in this palette. Alright guys, so now that you have seen the swatches, we can go ahead and jump into the nitty gritty. And as usual, I jump into the price next. And this palette retails for $45. You get 12 eyeshadows, and each of the eyeshadows are 0.04 ounces a piece, which means they're smaller than the average size small eyeshadow on the market. So think of MAC eyeshadows, Anastasia Beverly Hills, Makeup Geek. Those are around the 0.05, 0.06 ounces, and these are a smaller eyeshadow. And there are 12 of them, so you get a whopping total of 0.48 ounces. Now, as far as how that compares up against other palettes on the market, this is $45. It's a little bit pricey, but it's in line with the regular pricing from Too Faced for their palettes, and it's in line with a lot of the mid-range brands on the market as well. So think about them up against other brands such as Smashbox or Tart or Urban Decay. Similar palettes will retail for anywhere from $42 for the Anastasia Beverly Hills like Subculture palette and Modern Renaissance palette. Those are $42. You do get more shades in that, but you get less product as well. So you might get more shade options, but you get less product. Naked palettes are $54. Those also contain 12 eyeshadows, and those contain like 0.05 ounces a piece. So you get more product for the price. And then you have other palettes that are 12 eyeshadows from Tarte. This is $46. Again, I think you get 0.05 ounces. So this is kind of right in line with those other palettes that you would consider that match up against it in Sephora. So if you're already comfortable with that price point, then this shouldn't catch you off guard at all. As far as the packaging goes, I think Too Faced hit it out the park with this packaging. Too Faced tends to do pretty cute packaging, but this is just really beautiful. It's cute, but at the same time, it has a level of sophistication to it, which I appreciate because I don't really like the childish looking packaging. And this, I think, was a happy medium. It's a beautiful ombre of peach to like a lighter yellow toned ivory. It has beautiful font on it. It's printed on, so it's not debossed, it's not embossed, it's just flat writing. And it's more of a shiny plastic finish. Then the rest of the packaging is this shiny yellow gold. And as you know, this attracts fingerprints like no other. You can see how grimy that looks, right? But I do still find it pretty. You just have to shine it up a bit if you want it to look nice and pretty. The back has a label with the information on the sizing, and it says Velvet Matte Eyeshadow Palette, and it's infused with peach and sweet fig cream. It says here also that the bulk of this palette is made in the USA, but it's assembled in the Dominican Republic. And for the clasp, they use two little golden peaches, and you just push them apart and it opens up, similar to like a purse. Do you guys know those purses that you just push the little snaps apart? Yeah. And there is a mirror in here, full-size mirror with the Too Faced logo. It is a pretty nice mirror, so it's very usable. And it does go a little ways back, so you can tilt it as you wish. And it's just a nice mirror. It's a nice travel-friendly palette. It's nice and solid, and it's lightweight while still maintaining a little bit of luxury to it. In the bottom, you have the 12 eyeshadows, and they all have peach-themed names. So you have like peach tea, peach cobbler, peach sangria, just peachy, and the sort. And there are 12 shades in this palette. All of them are matte, and they range from a light tone to deeper, darker, smoky hues. And even the box that it comes in is beautiful. It has the same ombre peach theme with the gold trimming, and it does have the open jar symbol of 12 months, which means this eyeshadow palette has a recommended usage life of 12 months. But of course, you can use powder eyeshadows beyond that as long as you keep them in a cool, dry place and they're not exposed to humidity and they're not going to get damp and dusty. And you can always sanitize them with alcohol. And you have things like the Beauty So Clean sanitizing spray. Inside the box, you also get a how-to glamour guide with different looks that you can achieve from this palette. And it goes from subtle looks to more intense, smoky looks. And I do agree that you can get an assortment of looks from this palette, ranging from very subtle daytime friendly looks to more deep sultry looks. Now this palette is a Sephora exclusive, so you can only purchase it online at Sephora.com or in Sephora stores. They're also available at the Sephora's in JCPenney, along with the rest of the Peaches and Cream collection, which includes the foundation, the primer, the spray, some finishing powders, some blushes. All the peach collection is at Sephora. Now the information on the website says it's a long-wearing eyeshadow palette with 12 highly pigmented matte hues for endless eye looks. It says featuring matte shades of warm peaches, buttery creams, and rich browns. These shadows are infused with exclusive comfort matte technology for blendable, intense color payoff. Now this comfort matte technology that they mention here is incorporated throughout the Peaches and Cream collection. It says glides on, buildable, saturated color, delivers a matte finish, features an ombre layout for easy transitions, smells like peaches and cream. No parabens, sulfates, or phthalates. And it's an entire line exclusive to Sephora, like I mentioned before. And it says the Too Faced Peaches and Cream Comfort Matte Collection is infused with refreshing peaches and sweet fig cream, ingredients known for their hydrating and antioxidant-rich benefits to help keep skin moisturized, comfortable, and beautifully matte. And that leads us into the actual product and the performance. The first thing I will mention is that it does smell very pleasantly of a sweet peach, and I guess that's the fig cream. It's a sweet scent. It isn't really overwhelming like the peach palette from before that they had in the chocolate bar series. That was a lot more intense and a lot more artificial. This is like a fresh peach scent, and I really like it, but it's not very overwhelming. In fact, it's almost faint when I smell the palette directly right now, and I'm like all up in it. So it's a very faint scent. And the ingredients, the main ingredients is talc, but it also has mica as the third ingredient. It has some copolymers, some different binding ingredients. It also has glycerin. It has that fig fruit extract, like it said, as well as the peach fruit extract, but it also has a fragrance in here. So it's added fragrance to make it smell the way it smells. There are also some different slip-in agents and of course some preservatives. Nothing in this ingredient list really jumps out at me except for carmine, which means this is not a vegan palette. You can also look at the different iron oxides that are used in here or any other ingredients that you might be sensitive to, but they have a full list of ingredients and it's a pretty extensive list. It's not just a simple basic eyeshadow formula, which I appreciate because I like when I see an extensive formula because that could mean that they really put a lot into the formulation. And they did mention that they're antioxidant properties, which I appreciate as well because ain't nobody want no eyelids getting all old and crepey, right? What I like about this palette is it's definitely peach themed. So if you're looking for a peach themed palette, this has it. Unlike their original peach palette. This one definitely has a strong peach theme. It has peachy hues. It has more of like a coral peach. It has a light peach. It has some cranberry tones that coordinate well with the peach shades. And then it has some deeper browns to deepen up your look and smoke it out. And I do find it to be a great color selection. So I applaud them with that. But the formulation, as I apply these shadows, they thin out very easily. They don't have a lot of pigment to them and a lot of creaminess. So as you apply them, they blend away, they shear out. And what I find is the more that I blend them and layer them, they get muddy on my eyelids, which I didn't appreciate. I tried to just use them very lightly. I tried to use like the bolder shades. I tried to use the lighter shades. And each time I just ended up with more of a muddy crease. Unless I just stuck to the light shades only, I would end up with a muddy look altogether, which I didn't like one bit. And as you wear them throughout the day, they fade. Now, they don't fade and completely disappear off your eyes, but you will notice a significant fade of the color, the intensity. It just goes away. And that is just by applying the eyeshadows. And by the time I'm done with my look, it's already faded and it looks muddy and it just looks really subdued, which is not necessarily what you're looking for if you're going for a peach palette. If you're looking for subtle shades, then maybe, but if you're looking for this kind of palette, which is a peach palette, you expect a little bit more intensity from the eyeshadows. And I think that has to do a lot with the creaminess and the thickness of the eyeshadows. And when I say a thick formula, I mean a really creamy, rich formula that feels almost creamy to the touch. These are not that. These feel a lot more thin, and so the performance is what I would expect just from swatching them. They are a thinner formula. Overall, I don't like this palette, and I wouldn't recommend this palette just based on my personal preferences. If you try it and you love it, definitely leave a comment below and let us know. But if you have the same experience as me, then let me know as well. I just find that it's not necessarily a great performer. I prefer a palette that's a little bit creamier, a little bit more dense, one that I can share out if I choose to, and one that I can build up if I choose to as well, instead of having one that just gives me a sheer look no matter what I do. And I tried it with different primers. I tried it on its own. I tried it with bases. I tried it with concealer. I tried it with a powder down. I tried it without a powder down. I tried it with just plain old primer. It just doesn't work for me. And I'm a little bit disappointed because for $45 I expected more from this. It performs more like a $15 palette. I'm not knocking Too Faced because I think for the most part the theme, the packaging, they hit it out the park, but the formulation just needs a little bit more work, a little bit of tweaking to get it to be right up my alley. So those are my overall thoughts, guys. I would probably give this a C, maybe a B minus if you're into subtle colors, but it's more of a C palette for me. I wouldn't recommend this, and I wouldn't say go out and get it. But again, it's up to you and your personal preferences. And hopefully my swatches and my overall thoughts gave you an idea of what this palette has in store for you. And like I said, let us know if you've tried it and you absolutely love it, because my opinion is not the only one that matters. I will go ahead and leave all the details on the palette down below in the description box. Again, this is exclusive to Sephora, so you can only get it online at Sephora or in store at Sephora or Sephora in JCPenney. I will also leave links to my Instagram and Twitter page where you should definitely be following me along. And if you like this video, go ahead and give a thumbs up. You can share it with your friends, add it to your favorites, you know the deal. And if you are not already subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And until my next video, which will be very soon, I'll talk to you. Bye, guys.